AITA for refusing to impersonate my sister so she could keep the award she stole from me? My name is Jenna, I'm 26 and I live in Portland, Oregon. I work as a patient intake coordinator for a physical therapy clinic, which basically means I spend my days soothing insurance representatives, confused patients, and occasionally doctors who forgot how paperwork functions. I keep the same tired canvas tote by my desk because it holds my lunch, my badge, and usually 3 pens that do not belong to me. My mom, Denise, likes to tell people I'm the practical one, which sounds like a compliment until you realize it's just code for the daughter she calls when something needs fixing, not the daughter she posts about on Facebook. My younger sister, Harper, has always been the one with the spotlight. She's 23, pretty in a way that makes strangers forgive her before she even apologizes, and somehow every bad decision she makes turns into a story about how much pressure she's under. I learned early that if Harper cried, the room moved around her. If I cried, I was told to be mature. The thing is, I thought I had made peace with it. I had my job, my Trader Joe's frozen dinners, my Sunday laundry routine, and a group chat with coworkers who actually noticed when I was quiet. I thought keeping some distance from my family meant they couldn't pull me into their mess anymore. Then my mom called me on a Tuesday night and asked me to pretend to be my sister. I was standing barefoot in my tiny kitchen, waiting for the microwave to finish heating up orange chicken I'd bought, because it was cheap and required no emotional energy. Rain ticked against the window over the sink. My damp jacket was hanging over the back of a chair because I kept forgetting to buy a real coat rack. There were grocery receipts stuck to my fridge with a magnet shaped like a strawberry. When my phone lit up with Mom, I almost let it ring. Not because I hated her. That would have been simpler. I just knew her calls had weight. They were never, "How are you?" They were, "Can you stop by?" Or "Can you talk to your sister?" Or "Don't make this harder than it has to be." I answered anyway because I still did that back then. "Hey, Mom." "Jenna, honey," she said, and the honey told me immediately something was wrong. My mom only softened her voice when she was trying to wrap a hook in velvet. "Are you home?" "Just got in." "Good. I need to ask you something, and I need you not to react dramatically." The microwave beeped. I didn't open it. "That's a great start," I said. She sighed like I had already disappointed her. "Harper has a small problem with the award application." I knew the award. Everyone with access to my mother's Facebook knew the award. Harper had won a Young Community Leadership Award through some Portland nonprofit, and Mom had posted about it so many times I could have recited the caption. "So proud of my baby for changing lives." There were photos of Harper in a cream blazer, smiling with her head tilted just right, comments from church friends and former teachers, heart emojis stacked under every post. I remember seeing it and thinking, I didn't even know Harper had volunteered anywhere long enough to remember the parking situation. "What kind of small problem?" I asked. "The director wants to verify a few things," Mom said. "Dates, hours, and professional language. You know how these people get when there's paperwork." I worked with paperwork every day. People did not get anything without a reason. And what does that have to do with me? Mom paused. I heard a cabinet close on her end, then the faint sound of her dishwasher running. I could picture her standing in that spotless Beaverton kitchen, seasonal dish towels folded over the oven handle, the island wiped clean enough to eat off of. Family photos lined the hallway near the kitchen, and in most of them, Harper stood in the center like the rest of us had been arranged around her. "There's going to be a verification call," Mom said. "Just 20 minutes. Maybe less." I thought you could take it. I waited because my brain refused to process that sentence in the way she meant it. Take it how? As Harper. The rain got louder, or maybe the apartment got quieter. "Mom, you two sound enough alike when you're being polite." I actually laughed once, not because it was funny, but because my body had no better plan. "You're asking me to impersonate my sister." "It's not lying," she said quickly. "It's smoothing out a misunderstanding." "No, it's lying. I'm asking you to act like family." That was one of her favorite lines. In our house, acting like family meant driving Harper to work after she dented Mom's car, and was too anxious to ride the bus. It meant covering Harper's half of the rent when she quit a coffee shop job after 3 weeks because the manager didn't understand her vibe. It meant coming over early on Thanksgiving to peel potatoes while Harper arrived late with store-bought rolls and got praise for remembering the cranberry sauce. Being responsible in my family didn't earn you respect. It earned you more chores. What exactly did Harper put in that application? I asked. Mom's voice sharpened. Why does that matter? Because you're asking me to verify it. I'm asking you to help your sister. Those are not the same thing. There was another pause. This one had teeth. You have always resented her, Mom said. I closed my eyes. My dinner was cooling inside the microwave. A bus hissed at the curb outside my building, tires dragging through the wet asphalt. No, Mom, I said. I resent being asked to lie for her. You're jealous. Of what? Of the attention. Of the fact that Harper finally has something good happening. I leaned against the counter and pressed my palm to the edge until it hurt a little. That helped. Pain had clear borders. I am not taking the call. Jenna, she started. No, I interrupted. Her voice dropped low and flat. Fine. But don't come crying to me when your sister remembers who helped her, and who tried to punish her. She hung up first. I stood there for a full minute with my phone still against my ear. Then I opened the microwave and ate standing at the counter, even though the rice had gone hard around the edges. By the next morning, the family group chat had turned into a tiny courtroom where I was somehow both the defendant and the bad guy. Mom, please call me. This has gone far enough. Harper. I know you're mad, but I'm literally shaking right now. Cousin Beth. Not taking sides, but maybe think about your mom's stress too, Redheart. Uncle Ron. Family helps family. That's all I'll say. Aunt Marcy didn't text in the group. She rarely did when Mom got on a roll. Her usual line was, "That's just how your mom is," which had bothered me more as I got older. It sounded like wisdom until I realized it was just surrender with a nicer coat on. I stared at the messages at my desk while the front phones rang and the clinic smelled like wet coats, coffee, and the hand sanitizer we'd kept around long after the worst of the pandemic. Laminated signs about masks and appointment check-ins were still taped near the window, curling slightly at the corners. My coffee went cold while I helped a man argue with his insurance company about whether a knee issue existed before or after prior authorization. Between calls, Harper texted me privately. Harper, I know you think I don't deserve good things, but this could really help me. I typed deleted, typed again. Me. What exactly was submitted under your name? 3 dots appeared, vanished, appeared again. Harper. Why are you interrogating me? Me, because Mom asked me to pretend to be you. Harper. It's not that serious. She's just trying to keep everything from getting messed up. Me, what is everything? She didn't answer. That was the first thing that made my stomach pinch in a way that had nothing to do with bad coffee. Harper loved explaining herself when the explanation made her look wounded. Silence meant there was something under the rug and everyone was standing on it. That Friday, Mom invited me to dinner. Invited is the wrong word. She texted, dinner Sunday at 6. We need to talk like adults. Then she sent a yellow heart, which somehow made it worse. I almost said no, but I wanted to see their faces when I asked questions. Texting let people hide. Dinner didn't. Mom's house looked like it always did, neat in a way that made you feel guilty for having pockets. There was a fall wreath on the door even though it was only early November, and little ceramic pumpkins on the entry table. Inside, the living room looked ready for guests but not honest conversation. Harper was already there, curled into the corner of the couch in leggings and an oversized sweater, scrolling on her phone. She looked small on purpose. Mom kissed my cheek like we hadn't fought 3 days earlier. There's my girl, she said, loudly enough for Aunt Marcy to hear from the kitchen. I wondered which girl she meant. Dinner was pot roast, mashed potatoes, green beans with too much butter, and tension so thick it should have had its own chair. Mom asked about my clinic like she was reading from a cue card. Harper pushed meat around her plate and checked her phone every few minutes. Aunt Marcy watched all of us with her eyebrows pulled together. Halfway through dinner, I put down my fork. Where did you volunteer? I asked Harper. She blinked. What? For the award. Where did you volunteer? Different places. Which places? Mom set her wineglass down too carefully. This is dinner, not a courtroom. You asked me to verify her volunteer work, I said. I'd like to know what I was supposed to lie about. Harper's cheeks went pink. Can you not say it like that? How should I say it? Like maybe you care what happens to me. I care enough to ask what happened. Mom's mouth tightened. You always do this. You take a family issue and turn it into some moral performance. Aunt Marcy made a small sound like she had swallowed a word. I looked at Mom. Why won't either of you answer? Harper pushed back from the table. I'm done. She walked down the hall toward the bathroom, though I didn't hear the door close right away. Mom stared after her, then turned that stare on me. Are you happy? She asked. You upset her. I asked a basic question. Your sister is sensitive. And what am I? She didn't even hesitate. You're stronger than that. There it was. The old bargain. Harper got protection because she was fragile. I got pressure because I could take it. After dinner, while Mom wrapped leftovers in containers she would probably send home with Harper, I stood at the sink rinsing plates. Aunt Marcy came up beside me with a dish towel in her hands. She kept her voice low. Your mom gets loud when she's mad. I glanced toward the kitchen island, where Mom was telling Harper she didn't have to eat dessert if her stomach hurt. Okay. Tonight she's performing, Aunt Marcy said. That's different. I looked at her. She didn't meet my eyes at first. This sounds bigger than she's making it. Something in me softened and hardened at the same time. Then say that to her. Aunt Marcy folded the towel. Jenna. Yeah, I said. That's what I thought. I left with no leftovers and sat in my car for a minute before driving back to Portland. The windshield wipers dragged rain back and forth. My phone buzzed 2 times in the cup holder, but I didn't look until I got home. Mom. You embarrassed your sister tonight. Harper. You don't know what this pressure feels like. Cousin Beth. Praying for everyone to find grace-folded hands. I plugged my phone in, turned it face down, and did my laundry in the basement of my apartment building, where one dryer had been broken since July, and someone had taped a handwritten out-of-order sign to it like that might shame it into working. On Monday morning, the truth arrived in my work inbox with the subject line, Verification Discrepancy Harper. At first I thought it was spam, or some weird family nonsense Mom had dragged into my job. Then I saw the sender. Ruth Calder. Program Director. Northwest Bridge Community Fund. My stomach dropped before my brain even caught up. The email began politely, professionally, cautiously. Dear Harper, following up regarding the dates listed for your volunteer service with the Eastside Mobility Access Outreach Program. We have not been able to confirm the attached Saturday service dates through the listed clinic contact. Please review the attached summary before our scheduled verification call. My clinic email was CC'd because someone had listed our front desk number and general office address as a reference contact. Someone had handed them my workplace. I opened the attachment with cold fingers. It was an application summary. Harper's name was at the top. Harper's smiling headshot sat in the corner. Under community service experience, I saw dates that matched my Saturday outreach shifts at a free mobility screening clinic 2 years earlier. Not close dates. Exact dates. The same rainy Saturdays I had spent checking in uninsured patients, translating forms into plain English, and helping elderly people figure out which line on a clipboard mattered. Then I saw the project description. My mouth went dry. I knew the sentence before I finished reading it because I had written it. 2 years earlier, my manager had asked me to write a short piece for our clinic newsletter about helping patients access care. It was nothing fancy. I wrote it after work one night with a bowl of cereal for dinner. I had described an older patient who came in scared because she thought physical therapy would cost more than her rent, and how our outreach program helped connect her with a sliding scale provider. In Harper's application, the patient's age was changed. A few phrases were swapped. But the rhythm was mine. The details were mine. The work was mine. It wasn't inspired by my essay. It was my essay wearing Harper's name tag. I clicked through the rest, my hands getting steadier in that strange way they do when shock starts turning into proof. Harper had claimed my volunteer hours, my patient outreach project, my written reflection, and my clinic's credibility. The award came with a $12,000 community grant and a public profile on the nonprofit's website. Harper hadn't just taken attention. She had taken a professional record and put her face over it. Across the front desk, Eli looked up from a stack of intake forms. Eli was 31, the kind of coworker who could fix the printer with one hand while eating a breakfast burrito with the other. We had become friends during a winter when 3 staff members quit, and the phones never stopped ringing. He knew enough about my family to cringe whenever my mom's name popped up on my phone. "You look like you just got audited," he said. "I think my sister submitted my work for an award." His face changed. No joke. No raised eyebrow. Just focus. "Show me." During lunch, we sat in the cramped break room beside a vending machine that hummed like an old refrigerator. I showed him the email, the application summary, and then dug through our clinic archive until I found the old newsletter PDF. Eli printed both documents and started highlighting matching sections with a yellow marker from the supply drawer. "This is the kind of thing people call drama until there's a PDF," he said. "I don't want to cause a massive family rift." He looked at me over the papers. "Your family handed you the spark and then blamed you for noticing the fire." I rubbed my forehead. "My mom is going to say I'm doing this because I'm jealous." "Then stop arguing feelings with people who benefit from confusing them," he said. "You don't need a better argument. You need a timeline." So I made one. I saved the email as a PDF. I downloaded the attachment. I took screenshots with timestamps. I found my original newsletter article in the clinic archive. I pulled my old calendar and matched each volunteer date. Then I asked my manager, Tasha, if she could verify my outreach shifts from the clinic records. Tasha was usually brisk, not unkind but busy in a way that made every sentence sound like it had somewhere else to be. When I explained what had happened, she went still. "Jenna," she said, "this is not family drama anymore. This involves our clinic." "I know. Did you authorize your sister to use our program name?" "No." "Did you authorize anyone to use your volunteer record?" "No." She nodded once, then printed the volunteer schedule herself. My name appeared beside every date listed in Harper's application. "I'll provide a verification letter if needed," she said. "But keep this professional. Don't get pulled into a loud argument." I almost laughed. Loud arguments were my mother's preferred weather. That afternoon I wrote Ruth Calder an email. It took me nearly an hour because every angry sentence had to be removed and replaced with something that could stand on its own. "Dear Ms. Calder," I believe I was copied on this message because my workplace was listed as a verification contact. "I need to make you aware that the volunteer dates and project description in the attached application appear to correspond to my own service record with Eastside Mobility Access Outreach Program, not Harper's. Portions of the written statement also closely match an article I authored for our clinic newsletter in 2024. I am not making a personal accusation in this email. I am providing documentation of an attribution concern." I attached everything. The original article, the volunteer schedule, screenshots, the application summary Ruth had sent. I read it 3 times before sending because some tiny part of me still wanted a clean exit. Some part of me still hoped maybe there was an explanation that made my mother careless instead of cruel. Then I sent it. My phone started ringing 11 minutes later. Mom called 6 times. Harper called 2 times. I let all of them go to voicemail. Mom's first voicemail was controlled. "Jenna, call me. There seems to be some confusion, and I need to explain before you make this worse." The second was sharp. "Do not embarrass this family because you don't understand something." By the fourth, her voice cracked, not with guilt but panic. "You don't understand how hard I worked to get Harper here." I sat alone in my apartment, the glow from my phone lighting up the grocery receipts on my fridge, and replayed that line 2 times. That was the first honest thing she said. She had worked to get Harper there. Not Harper. My mother. The next evening, Harper showed up outside the clinic after closing. I was locking the front door with my tote slipping off my shoulder when I saw her under the awning, hair tucked into her hood, eyes red. Rain hit the sidewalk behind her. Cars rolled by with that wet Portland hiss that always makes the city feel tired. "Can we talk?" she asked. I looked back through the glass door. Eli was still inside, pretending not to watch while absolutely watching. "Here is fine," I said. Harper hugged herself. "Mom said you sent stuff to Ruth." "I did." "Why would you do that?" "Because your application had my name all over it. Except for the part where it actually used my name." She flinched. I didn't know it was that serious. What did you know? She looked down at her boots. They were cute suede, completely wrong for the rain. Mom used some stuff, she said. From you. But she said it was just background. Like family background. My volunteer hours? I thought she adjusted it. My essay. Harper wiped her cheek with the heel of her hand. You weren't using it. There it was. Small, ugly, and honest. I stared at her. You already knew. I knew Mom helped. I didn't know it would turn into this. You signed an ethics agreement. I sign things all the time. Nobody reads all that. I felt something inside me go very quiet. You took a 12,000 grant application built on work I did. Harper's voice rose. You already have a real job. You have your life together. I'm trying to get there. So because I survived without stealing from you, you thought stealing from me was fine? Why do you always make everything sound ugly? Because sometimes it is ugly. She started crying harder, but this time the room didn't move around her. There was no room. Just the clinic awning, the locked door, the rain, and me not stepping forward to fix it. I needed this, she said. I know. And you don't care? I care that you thought needing it made it yours. Her face changed then from sad to angry so fast it almost relieved me. Anger was less slippery. Mom was right, she said. You've always wanted me to fail. No, I said. I wanted you to stop being rescued with pieces of my life. I walked to my car without waiting for her to answer. 2 days later, Ruth asked if I would be available for a private meeting before the awards dinner. The event was already scheduled for Saturday night in a rented hall near downtown Portland. She was careful over the phone, professional but not cold. We are reviewing the materials, she said. I cannot discuss every detail yet, but the documentation you provided raises serious concerns. Do you need me there? I asked. I would like you available if there are questions about authorship or service verification. I almost said no. The idea of walking into that event made my skin feel too tight. But then I pictured my mother and Harper standing on a stage, smiling under warm lights, while people clapped for stolen work. I pictured Mom posting pictures afterward with some caption about perseverance. I pictured myself swallowing it because confrontation felt rude. I'll be there, I said. The hall had the exact look of a place trying hard to be fancier than it was. Folding chairs wore white covers. Round tables had rented linens and little centerpieces with battery candles. A check-in table held name tags in plastic sleeves. Along the back wall, Costco-style dessert trays sat under clear lids beside big coffee urns. People moved around in damp coats, shaking off rain, and laughing too loudly under fluorescent lights softened by string lights. Mom saw me before I saw her. She was wearing a navy dress and pearl earrings, her hair sprayed into place. Harper stood beside her in a pale blue dress, looking delicate and expensive. Mom had one hand on Harper's back as she introduced her to a woman in a green blazer. Our little miracle worker, Mom said, smiling like she had invented maternal pride. Then her eyes found mine and the smile stayed, but nothing else did. She crossed the room fast. You came, she said. Ruth asked me to. Her jaw tightened. No. You came to support your sister. I came because Ruth asked me to be available. Smile, she said through her teeth. People are watching. I looked around the room. Good. She grabbed my elbow lightly, not enough to hurt, just enough to remind me she still thought I could be moved. She steered me toward the hallway near the coat rack, where the noise of the room dulled behind us. You are not ruining this family over paperwork, she said. No, Mom. You already did that. Her face flushed. You have always been difficult when Harper needed anything. Always keeping score. I kept records this time. That's different. You think that makes you righteous? I think it makes me harder to lie about. She stared at me like she couldn't recognize the daughter she had trained to bend. After a second, her voice went soft, which was worse. After tonight, don't expect me to forget what you did. For years, that would have crushed me. The threat of losing her approval worked because approval had always seemed possible if I just became useful enough, quiet enough, and generous enough with things nobody should have asked me to give. But standing in that hallway, with rainwater dripping from coats behind us and my phone heavy in my pocket with copies of every document, I finally understood something plain. She was not afraid of losing me. She was afraid of losing the version of me she could use. I'm counting on that, I said. Ruth appeared at the end of the hallway before Mom could answer. She was a composed woman in her late 40s with short dark hair, a black blazer, and the tired calm of someone who had dealt with too many committees. Denise, she said. Harper. Could you both join me in the side room, please? Jenna, you as well. Mom's hand fell from my arm. The side room was small, probably used for storage most nights. Someone had shoved extra chairs against one wall. A stack of unused programs sat on a table. Harper came in last, eyes darting from Mom to me to Ruth. What's going on? Harper asked. The ceremony starts in 15 minutes. Ruth folded her hands over a folder. We are pausing the award pending further review. Harper went still. Mom gave a tight laugh. Pausing? That's not necessary. This is a family misunderstanding. Ruth looked at her directly. It became a program matter when it was submitted to us. Mom's mouth opened then closed. Ruth continued, calm and precise. The application contains service hours that the clinic records attribute to Jenna. It includes a project description linked to Jenna's documented volunteer work. It also contains written material substantially matching a previously published clinic newsletter article authored by Jenna. Harper signed an ethics agreement confirming that all submitted material was accurate and her own. Harper's face crumpled. I didn't know Mom used that much. Mom snapped. Harper. Ruth's eyes shifted to Harper. Did you complete the listed volunteer hours? Harper looked at the floor. The silence answered. Mom stepped forward. She has done plenty of good things. You people have no idea how hard it is for young women to get opportunities. I helped polish an application. That's what mothers do. Ruth did not raise her voice. This program cannot honor an application containing misrepresented service hours and copied written material. You're humiliating her, Mom said. No, Ruth said. We are correcting the record before public funds are awarded. Harper started crying then. Full force, breath hitching and hands shaking. Jenna, please. Tell her it's fine. Tell her you don't care. Everyone looked at me. My mother's eyes were wet too, but not soft. They were demanding, begging and blaming at the same time. I thought of every time I had been told to be the bigger person when what they meant was to be the smaller daughter. I thought of my old essay written over cereal my Saturday mornings at the outreach clinic, and my name erased so Harper's could shine brighter. I thought of the phone call on Tuesday night and Mom saying you two sound enough alike when you're being polite. I do care, I said. Harper made a sound like the wind had been knocked out of her. Mom whispered, Jenna. I looked at Ruth. I did not give permission for my work, service record, or writing to be used in Harper's application. Ruth nodded once. Thank you. That was the climax, though it didn't feel like a movie. Nobody screamed in front of a crowd. No one overturned a table. The dessert trays stayed covered. The candles kept flickering their fake little flames. But something ended in that room, quietly and completely. The announcement at the ceremony was brief. Ruth said one award was pending review and would not be presented that evening. She did not name Harper in front of the crowd. She didn't need to. People noticed when Harper's reserved seat stayed empty. People noticed Mom leaving abruptly with a hardened expression. In the lobby afterward, Aunt Marcy found me near the check-in table. She looked older than she had at dinner, her lipstick worn off, and her coat folded over one arm. Is it true? She asked. I opened the folder I had brought and showed her. Not every page. Just enough. The application summary. My old newsletter article. The volunteer schedule with my name on every date. She read silently. Her face changed slowly, like someone turning on lights down a long hallway. Oh, Denise, she whispered. I waited. Aunt Marcy looked up at me, eyes shiny. She went too far. The words were small. Late. Not enough to fix anything. But they were the first honest words any relative had said to me without cushioning them for my mother. I should have said something a long time ago, she added. I looked at her, feeling both grateful and tired. Yeah, I said. You should have. She nodded like she deserved that. The fallout was not dramatic in the way people online imagine consequences. No police showed up. No one was dragged out, but the consequences were real. Within a week, Harper's profile disappeared from the nonprofit website. The $12,000 grant was withdrawn. A quiet correction went out to donors and partner organizations saying the award had been suspended after verification concerns. Harper's internship offer through one of the nonprofit's partner organizations was rescinded because, as their email put it, they were unable to proceed under the circumstances. Mom deleted every Facebook post about the award. For the first time in years, her account went quiet. No inspirational quotes. No pictures of Harper with captions about resilience. Just silence, which somehow told everyone more than a post would have. Then the volunteer committee thing happened. Mom had been involved with a local parent volunteer group for years, mostly because she liked being seen as the kind of woman who organized donation drives and knew everyone's birthdays. Ruth sat on a related board. I don't know exactly how the story traveled and I didn't ask. But 2 weeks after the awards dinner, Aunt Marcy told me Mom had been asked to step down from her committee role until things settled. Things did not settle the way Mom wanted. The family group chat got strange. The same relatives who told me not to make waves suddenly wanted me to know they had always thought something was off. Cousin Beth sent, "I'm sorry if my texts added pressure. I didn't know the whole story." Uncle Ron said nothing at all. Another cousin sent me a single heart emoji, which I left unanswered because I had learned that not every small gesture needed to be rewarded with access. Mom left voicemails from different emotional weather systems. "You ruined your sister's confidence. You could have handled this privately. Do you know what people are saying about me?" Not once did she say, "I'm sorry I used your work." Not once did she ask how it felt to see my name stripped out of my own life. Her grief was for exposure, not harm. Harper texted for a while too. "Harper, I hope you're happy. Harper, Mom won't stop crying. Harper, you made your point." Then days later, "Harper, I didn't think it would hurt you this much." That one almost got me. Not because it was enough, but because it sounded close to human. I stared at it during my lunch break while Eli ate soup from a mug across from me. "You're doing the thing," he said. "What thing?" "Looking for the one sentence that makes you ignore the other 50. I put the phone down. He was right. I waited one more day before writing my final email. I didn't write it in anger. Anger had been useful, but it wasn't where I wanted to live. I wrote it at my kitchen table with a cup of tea going cold beside me and rain pressing softly against the windows. Mom and Harper, I am not available for emergencies created by lies. I am not available to be useful in place of being loved. What happened with the award was not a misunderstanding. My work, my volunteer record, and my writing were submitted under Harper's name without my consent. When I refused to participate, both of you pressured me to protect the lie instead of acknowledging what was done. I will not be responding to calls, texts, emails, or messages through relatives. I am choosing distance because contact with you has repeatedly required me to betray myself. Do not come to my apartment or my workplace. If there is a practical matter that genuinely requires communication, send it through Aunt Marcy, and I will decide whether to respond. Jenna. I read it 2 times. I did not add insults. I did not explain my childhood. I did not beg them to understand. Then I sent it, blocked their numbers, muted every relative who might become a messenger, and removed myself from the family group chat. The silence afterward felt strange at first. Not peaceful. Not immediately. It felt more like when the power goes out and you suddenly notice the refrigerator had been humming the whole time. Thanksgiving came 3 weeks later. For the first time in my life, I did not go to Mom's house. Instead, I went to Eli's apartment with 2 coworkers from the clinic, Tasha and Maribel. Eli had borrowed folding chairs from his neighbor, and none of them matched. Maribel brought box stuffing and green bean casserole with the onions slightly burned on top. Tasha made mashed potatoes in a pot too small for the job and complained every time they sloshed onto the stove. The turkey was dry enough that Eli called it a poultry-based challenge, and we laughed so hard Maribel had to sit down. We ate off mismatched plates. Someone forgot the cranberry sauce. Rain tapped at the windows and traffic hissed on the street below. My phone buzzed once from an unknown number while Eli was trying to carve a second piece of turkey that did not want to be carved. I looked at the screen, silenced it, and set it face down. You good? Eli asked. I thought about it honestly. I thought about my mother's kitchen with the perfect island and the framed photos where Harper always stood in the middle. I thought about all the years I had mistaken being needed for being loved. I thought about the little girl I had been, trying to earn fairness by being easy. Then I looked around at the crowded table, the dry turkey, the boxed stuffing, and the people who asked me to pass the gravy without asking me to disappear. Yeah, I said. I'm good. And I was. Not in a shiny dramatic way. Nobody fixed my family. Nobody apologized perfectly. My mother did not suddenly become fair. And Harper did not suddenly understand the full weight of what she had taken. But my life got quieter. My apartment felt more like mine. My Sundays stopped carrying the dread of what favor might be demanded next. I still carried the same tired canvas tote to work. My coffee still went cold at my desk. Patients still argued with insurance companies. Doctors still forgot paperwork. And the dryer in my building stayed broken for another month. But for the first time, I stopped organizing my life around the hope that my mother might choose me without needing something from me first. At that Thanksgiving table, with gravy on my sleeve and laughter warming the room better than any perfect holiday ever had, I understood the difference between being alone and being free. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.